There is a reason you stopped here. Not later. Not earlier. But now. You may have been scrolling. Distracted. Tired. Maybe even emotionally drained from everything you've been carrying in silence. And yet something about this moment felt different. Something made you pause. Something pulled your attention in a way you can't fully explain. That feeling, that quiet tug in your spirit, that is not coincidence. That is not algorithm. That is alignment. And tonight, June 17th, is not just another date passing on the calendar. This night has been marked. Marked long before you felt the weight you're carrying now. Marked before the prayers you whispered through tears. Marked before the moments you almost gave up but didn't. There is a divine interruption happening right now, and you are standing in the middle of it. You've been asking questions, haven't you? God, are you listening? Why is nothing changing? Did I miss my moment? And maybe the hardest one of all, am I still seen? But listen closely, because what you're about to hear will shift something inside you. You were never ignored. Not for a second. Every tear, every late night thought, every silent cry you couldn't even put into words at all reached heaven. Even the prayers you thought were too broken, too messy, too incomplete, they were heard in full clarity. Because heaven doesn't listen to perfect words. Heaven listens to honest hearts. And yours has been speaking louder than you realize. But here's where it gets deeper. The reason this message feels urgent, the reason something inside you is telling you not to skip, not to look away, not to brush this off like everything else, is because tonight is not about information. It's about activation. Something is shifting. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it fully yet. But in the unseen realm, movement has already begun. Doors that felt sealed are being touched. Answers that felt delayed are being released. And a response, yes, a response to your specific prayer, is already in motion. This is the moment where heaven leans in closer, where the noise fades just enough for truth to break through, where you are gently, but firmly, being awakened to something you cannot afford to miss. Because let's be real, you've had moments like this before, haven't you? Moments where you felt something was about to change, but then life pulled you back into routine, back into doubt, back into waiting. And slowly, that feeling faded. But this time is different. This time, the pull is stronger. This time, the timing is sharper. This time, you're not just being comforted, you're being called. Called to pay attention. Called to be still. Called to recognize that what you've been waiting for is no longer just coming someday, it's already responding. Right now, as you listen to this, there is a shift taking place that has your name written all over it. And the only question left is not whether it's real, the question is, will you recognize it? Will you stay present long enough to receive it? Or will you let this moment pass like all the others? Because tonight, June 17th, is not random. It is a divine intersection between your prayer and heaven's answer. And this is only the beginning. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message is for you. Blessing code 1717 is now activated around your life. There is something you need to understand, and it may change the way you see everything you've been going through. The prayers you thought were too quiet were actually the loudest in heaven. The moments you felt most alone were the moments you were being heard the clearest. You may not have shouted. You may not have used perfect words. Sometimes, you didn't even pray out loud. You just felt it. A heaviness in your chest. A question sitting in your spirit. A tear that fell without explanation. But heaven does not measure volume the way the world does. Heaven measures sincerity. and your sincerity has been echoing far beyond what your natural ears could ever perceive. You've had nights where you laid awake, staring into the darkness, wondering if anything was shifting. You've had days where you smiled in front of others, but inside, you were asking God for something to change, something to move, something to finally make sense. And in those moments, you questioned whether your voice was reaching beyond the ceiling. You questioned whether your situation was too small, too complicated, or maybe even too delayed to be answered. But what you could not see was that every single moment of honesty, every ounce of vulnerability, was being recorded, received, and responded to in real time. Archangel Michael speaks in this moment, not with noise, but with authority, and he reveals something that may surprise you. There was never a delay in your prayer being heard. The delay you felt was never about heaven ignoring you. It was about preparation unfolding in ways you could not yet understand. While you were waiting, things were being arranged. When you were doubting, things were being aligned. While you were questioning, answers were already forming. You were not speaking into emptiness. You were speaking into motion. There is a misconception that prayers must be perfect to be powerful, that you must say the right words, in the right order, at the right time. But that is not how the divine operates. The most powerful prayers are often the ones that never fully form into sentences. The sighs, the tears, the quiet why, the whispered please, the silent hope you held on to when everything around you suggested letting go. Those are the prayers that move heaven. Those are the prayers that trigger response. And this is why tonight matters. Because June 17th is not the beginning of your prayer being answered. It is the moment you begin to realize it already has been. There has been movement behind the scenes, subtle but significant. You may not have noticed it yet because it didn't arrive the way you expected. It didn't come with immediate clarity or instant results. But something shifted the moment you released that prayer. Something changed the moment you allowed your heart to speak honestly, even in brokenness. Think about it carefully. There have been small signs, haven't there? Moments where things almost made sense. Times where you felt a brief peace, even in the middle of uncertainty. Situations that didn't go the way you planned, but later protected you from something you didn't see coming. Those were not coincidences. Those were responses. Those were quiet answers unfolding in layers, preparing you for something greater than what you originally asked for. But here is where your awareness becomes critical. Because when answers do not come in the form we expect, we often miss them. We overlook them. We dismiss them as random or insignificant. And slowly, we fall back into the belief that nothing is happening. But tonight, that illusion is being broken. Tonight, you are being invited to see differently, to recognize that your prayer has not only been heard, but it has already activated a chain of events that are still unfolding. Archangel Michael reveals that your prayer created a shift not just around you, but within you. It altered your direction, even if you didn't realize it at the time. It redirected paths, removed unseen obstacles, and began preparing you for something that requires a different version of you. That is why you've been feeling different lately. That is why your tolerance has changed, your perspective has shifted, and certain things no longer sit right with your spirit. That is not confusion. That is transformation in progress. You are not waiting for an answer anymore. You are standing in the middle of one. And tonight is the moment where you begin to see it clearly. Do not underestimate what has already been set in motion. Do not downplay the power of what you released in faith, even when you felt weak. Because heaven did not hesitate. Heaven responded immediately. And now, The evidence of that response is beginning to rise to the surface. Stay present. Stay aware. Because what you thought was silence was actually the sound of something being built specifically for you. Type I was heard in the comments if this is resonating with your spirit. Blessing code 2222 is now surrounding your life. Something is happening tonight that your physical eyes cannot fully capture yet, but your spirit already feels it. There is a movement, quiet but undeniable, unfolding around you in this very moment. It is not loud. It is not chaotic. It does not demand attention the way the world does. But it is real, and it is precise. Because when heaven begins to move, it does not rush, it aligns. You may be sitting in a normal environment right now. Nothing around you looks dramatically different. The same room, the same sounds, the same routine. And yet, something feels slightly off or perhaps slightly elevated. A subtle awareness, a quiet stirring, a sense that something is shifting beneath the surface. That feeling is not your imagination. That is your spirit recognizing a change before your mind can explain it. Archangel Michael steps forward in this moment, not to alarm you, but to awaken your awareness. He reveals that what is taking place tonight is both seen and unseen. There are things adjusting in your physical world, yes, but there are also things being rearranged in the spiritual realm that directly impact your path. Conversations you haven't had yet are already being influenced. Opportunities you haven't seen yet are already being positioned. Outcomes you are still questioning have already begun to take form. This is how divine timing works. It does not wait for your full understanding. It moves based on alignment. And tonight, something has aligned. There has been a release, an answer that has crossed from the unseen into the process of becoming visible. But here is the part that requires your attention. Just because something has been released does not mean it is instantly recognized. Some answers arrive quietly. Some breakthroughs begin subtly. Some shifts start internally before they ever appear externally. And if you are not aware, you may overlook the very thing you've been praying for. This is why you have been guided to this moment. Because what is happening tonight requires your presence, not your perfection, not your full understanding, just your awareness. Your willingness to stay still long enough to notice what is different. Your openness to recognize that something is moving, even if you cannot yet define it. Think about the last few hours, or even the last few days. Something has been different, hasn't it? Maybe it was a sudden thought that came out of nowhere. Maybe it was a feeling you couldn't explain. Maybe it was a delay, a redirection, or even a moment that didn't go as planned. At the time, it may have felt confusing or inconvenient. But now, you are beginning to see that those moments were not random. They were part of the shift. Because when heaven moves, it often disrupts before it reveals. And you are in that exact space right now. Archangel Michael reveals that there are things being cleared away from your path even as you listen to this. Obstacles that you were never meant to face are being removed before they reach you. Situations that could have delayed you are being redirected. People, energies, and influences that do not align with your next step are being gently, or sometimes suddenly, repositioned. You may not see all of it yet, but you will. Because the unseen always becomes seen in time. But here is where your role becomes important. You must not fall back into distraction. You must not dismiss what you are feeling. You must not return to autopilot when something inside you is clearly signaling that this moment matters. Because awareness is what allows you to step into alignment with what is already unfolding. This is not about forcing anything to happen. It is about recognizing what is already happening. There is a difference. And tonight, that difference is everything. You are not chasing an answer anymore. You are stepping into one that is already in motion. The shift has begun. The alignment has been activated. And the only thing required from you now is to remain present enough to receive it. Because what is happening tonight will not remain hidden for long. It is already moving toward you. Type "I see the shift" in the comments if you feel this moment. Lesson code 3333 is now activated around your path. As the shift unfolds and light begins to move through places that once felt still, understand this: every time you choose to support this message, you are helping that same light reach someone else who is still waiting in the dark. This is not about giving to a channel. It is about sowing into a spiritual harvest that touches lives far beyond what you can see. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not a distant promise. It is a living exchange happening even now. I feel it strongly. This is your moment to act, not out of obligation, but out of divine alignment. When you release your seed through Super Thanks or PayPal, you are becoming a vessel that carries truth into another soul's breakthrough. The link is already placed for you, waiting in the description, and even present as a sign before your eyes. Do not delay what heaven is prompting. Step into this act of obedience and watch how doors begin to respond in your life. You need to understand something very clearly, because once you see this, everything that happened to you today will begin to make sense in a way it never has before. The distractions you experienced were not random. The sudden fatigue, the wandering thoughts, the emotional heaviness, the unexpected interruption, none of it was accidental. It was targeted. It was timed. And it was designed for one purpose: to pull your attention away from this exact moment. Think about your day honestly. There were moments where your focus slipped without warning. Moments where you felt unusually tired, even if you had no reason to be. Moments where your mind drifted into doubt, replaying old fears or questions you thought you had already moved past. Maybe there were small frustrations that seemed bigger than they should have been. Maybe there were delays, misunderstandings, or even a strange sense of restlessness that followed you from one moment to the next. At the time, it felt like just another difficult day. But now you are beginning to see there was more behind it. Because when something significant is about to happen in your life, resistance always shows up first. Archangel Michael reveals that the closer you move toward alignment, the more subtle the distractions become. They do not always appear as obvious obstacles. They come disguised as normal thoughts, normal emotions, normal situations. But their timing exposes their true intention. They appear right before a moment of clarity, right before a shift, right before you are about to receive something important. And if they succeed in pulling your focus away, you miss the moment without even realizing it. That is what tried to happen today. There was an attempt to scatter your attention, to keep you busy, overwhelmed, or emotionally unsettled just enough that you would not recognize what was unfolding tonight. Because awareness is powerful. Awareness is what allows you to step into alignment. And the moment you become aware, the distraction loses its grip. But here is the truth you need to hold on to. It did not work. You are still here. You still pause. You still listen. Despite everything that tried to pull you away, something stronger held your attention and brought you to this moment. That means the distraction failed, and the shift remains intact. This is not something to take lightly, because what you are experiencing now is the result of you pushing through something you did not even fully understand at the time. You resisted the urge to disconnect. You moved past the heaviness. You stayed present long enough to receive what is being revealed now. And because of that, You are no longer in the same position you were in earlier today. Something has already changed. Archangel Michael makes it clear that distractions are not just about wasting time. They are about redirecting focus. If your focus can be controlled, your direction can be influenced. And if your direction is influenced, your outcome can be delayed. That is why the distraction felt so persistent. That is why it came in waves. Because something was trying to interrupt your alignment before it fully settled into place. But now, that window has closed. You have crossed into awareness. And once awareness is activated, the same distractions no longer hold the same power over you. You begin to see them for what they are. You begin to recognize the pattern. You begin to notice how they show up and when they try to take hold. And in that recognition, you reclaim control over your attention. This is where your strength becomes evident. Not in how perfect you were today, but in the fact that you are still here despite everything that tried to pull you away. That is what matters. That is what shifts everything moving forward. Because now, you are not just experiencing the moment, you are understanding it. And understanding creates clarity. Clarity allows you to move differently, to respond differently, to protect your focus in ways you may not have before. Because now you know that your attention is valuable, your awareness is important, and your presence in moments like this is not something to overlook. Tonight is proof of that. You were meant to be here, not distracted, not disconnected, but fully present. And now that you are, the shift that has already begun will continue to unfold without interruption. Stay aware. Stay grounded. Stay focused on what you feel in this moment. Because what tried to distract you earlier has already lost its hold. And what is unfolding now cannot be stopped by what failed before. Type "I reclaim my focus" in the comments if you are choosing alignment. Lesson code 4444 is now surrounding your mind and your path. There is something your spirit needs to hear right now, because if you truly understand this, it will heal a part of you that has been quietly questioning everything you've been through. The waiting, it was not wasted. Not a single moment of it. Not the delays, not the confusion, not the times you felt like nothing was moving. Every part of that season carried purpose, even when it felt like emptiness. You've asked yourself before, haven't you? Why did it take so long? Why did things not happen when you were ready? Why did doors stay closed when you knew you were prepared to walk through them? You looked at your effort, your patience, your faith, and you wondered why the outcome did not match the intensity of what you were giving. It felt like standing still while everything else moved forward. It felt like watching others step into moments you had been praying for. And deep down, you questioned whether your timing had been missed. But tonight, that perspective is being corrected. Because what felt like waiting was actually preparation. Archangel Michael reveals that the delay you experienced was never empty space. It was active, intentional, and necessary. While you were focused on what was not happening, something much deeper was taking place within you and around you. You were being shaped, refined, strengthened in ways that could not have happened if everything had come quickly. There are things you carry now that you did not have before. A deeper awareness, a stronger sense of discernment, a clearer understanding of what aligns with you and what does not. You have changed, even if you did not notice it while it was happening. And that change is the reason you are now ready for what is unfolding. Because if certain things had arrived earlier, you would have received them as the version of yourself you used to be. And that version was not prepared to sustain what is coming. This is where many people misunderstand timing. They believe delay means denial, when in reality, delay often means development. It is the space where you are being prepared to handle what you once only desired. It is where your foundation is strengthened so that what comes next does not collapse under pressure. Think about it honestly. There were things you once wanted that, if you had received them back then, would have overwhelmed you. There were situations you thought you were ready for that, looking back now, you can see would have created more harm than growth. But at the time, you could not see that. You only saw the waiting. You only felt the distance between where you were and where you wanted to be. But heaven saw the full picture. Heaven saw what needed to be adjusted before things could align properly. It saw the areas where you needed to grow, the patterns that needed to shift, the mindset that needed to expand. And instead of rushing the process, it allowed you to move through it step by step. That is why the waiting felt so long, because transformation does not happen instantly. It happens layer by layer, and you were moving through those layers, even on the days you felt stuck. Archangel Michael makes it clear that nothing you went through was meaningless. Every delay redirected you. Every closed door protected you. Every moment of uncertainty pushed you to develop a deeper connection with yourself and with your faith. Even the frustration had a role. Even the moments where you almost gave up strengthened something within you that could not have been built any other way. You are not the same person who first prayed that prayer. And that is exactly why the answer is now able to reach you in a way that will last. Because you have been prepared to receive it differently. This is the part that shifts everything. You are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are stepping into something that has been built over time, specifically for the person you have become, and that changes how you move forward. There is no need to rush now. No need to force anything into place. Because what is coming does not require you to chase it. It is already aligned with you. It is already moving toward you at the right pace, in the right way, at the right time. The waiting season was not a pause. It was a process. And now, that process is complete. You are standing at the point where everything begins to make sense, where the delays reveal their purpose, where the confusion gives way to clarity, where you can finally see that nothing was taken from you. Everything was positioned for you. Stay grounded in the truth, because what unfolds next will confirm it in ways you cannot ignore. Type "I trust the timing" in the comments if you are ready to move forward. Blessing code 5555 is now activated over your journey. There is a presence around you right now that you may not be able to see, but you are meant to feel it. Not with your eyes, not with logic, but with that quiet awareness deep within you that has been growing stronger over time. That sense that you are not alone in what you've been facing. That even in your most uncertain moments, something has been standing between you and what could have overwhelmed you. That presence is not imagined. It is not symbolic. It is real. Archangel Michael is not distant in this moment. He is near. And his presence is not passive. He is active, intentional, and engaged in ways you may not fully understand yet. Because while you have been navigating your challenges in the physical world, there has been a parallel movement happening in the unseen. Battles that never reached you. Outcomes that were shifted before they could impact you. Situations that could have gone differently, but didn't, and you never knew why. That was not luck. That was protection. You have been guarded in ways you did not even think to ask for. There were moments where something felt like it almost went wrong, but then it didn't. Moments where a decision didn't sit right, and you changed your direction without fully knowing why. Moments where something fell apart, and later you realized it saved you from something else entirely. Those were not random corrections. Those were interventions. Archangel Michael reveals that many of the battles connected to your life have already been fought before they ever reached your awareness. What you experienced as delay or confusion was often the result of something being handled behind the scenes. And because it was handled before it reached you, you never saw the full weight of what could have been. That is why you are still here. That is why you made it through moments you thought would break you. That is why certain outcomes shifted at the last second. There has been a shield around you, and that shield has not been removed. It is still in place right now. But here's what you need to understand about protection. It does not mean the absence of difficulty. It means the presence of guidance within it. It means you are never left unguarded, even when things feel uncertain. It means that even when you walk through situations you do not fully understand, you are not exposed the way you think you are. Archangel Michael stands in that role for you, not just as a protector, but as a defender of your alignment. Because protection is not only about keeping harm away, it is also about ensuring that what is meant for you is not diverted, delayed, or taken off course. It is about holding your path steady when external forces try to shift it. And right now, that is exactly what is happening. There are things that tried to interfere with your direction that have already been blocked. There are influences that tried to attach themselves to your journey that have already been removed. There are outcomes that were not meant for you that have already been redirected elsewhere. You may not have seen it happen, but you are living in the result of it. This is why your awareness tonight matters even more. Because when you recognize that you are protected, you begin to move differently. You stop operating from fear. You stop second-guessing every step. You stop assuming that every uncertainty is a threat. And instead, you begin to trust that even when you do not have all the answers, you are still being guided in the right direction. That trust changes everything. It allows you to remain steady while things shift around you. It allows you to stay grounded while clarity continues to unfold. It allows you to move forward without needing to control every outcome, because you understand that not everything depends on you alone. There is support around you. There is guidance with you. There is protection over you. And none of it has been removed. Archangel Michael makes it clear that this moment is not just about what is coming next. It is also about recognizing what has already been done on your behalf. The battles you did not have to fight. The outcomes you did not have to fix. The weight you did not have to carry alone. That is the evidence. And that evidence is meant to strengthen your awareness moving forward. Because what unfolds next will require you to stand in that understanding fully, to move with the confidence that you are not navigating this alone, to trust that even when things are still unfolding, you are already supported in ways that go beyond what you can see. Stay grounded in the truth, because protection is not something that might come. It is something that has already been surrounding you this entire time. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this truth. Blessing code 6666 is now active around your life and your path. There is a door opening for you right now, and if you are not paying attention, you could stand in front of it and never realize it was meant for you. This is not a door that arrives with noise or announcement. It does not force itself into your awareness. It appears quietly, almost naturally, as if it has always been there. And that is exactly why many miss it. Because it does not look like a dramatic breakthrough. It looks like a subtle shift, a small opportunity, a simple redirection. But within it everything changes. You have been expecting something obvious, haven't you? Something clear, something undeniable. A moment where everything falls into place all at once. But that is not how this door is appearing. It is showing up in a way that requires your awareness. your discernment, and your willingness to trust what you feel before you fully understand it. Because this door is not just external, it is internal first. It begins with a realization, a thought that feels different from the rest, a sense of clarity that cuts through confusion, a moment where something finally clicks, even if you cannot explain why. That is the first sign. Not something happening around you, but something shifting within you. Because once the internal alignment happens, the external path begins to reveal itself. Archangel Michael reveals that this door has been forming for some time. It did not appear suddenly tonight. It has been building through every experience you have gone through, every delay you endured, every lesson you learned, every moment that forced you to grow beyond who you used to be. All of it had been leading to this point. And now, the door is ready. But here is the truth you must understand. A door can be open and still remain unused. Not because it is not real, but because it is not recognized. This is why your attention matters more than ever. Because this door will not pull you through it. It will not force you to step forward. It will simply exist waiting for you to see it, to trust it, and to walk toward it on your own. And the only way you do that is by staying present enough to notice what is changing. Think about what hath been shifting inside you recently. Your perspective is not the same as it was before. The things you once tolerated no longer feel right. The direction you once thought you wanted may no longer feel aligned. There is a quiet pull towards something different, even if you cannot fully define it yet. That is not confusion. That is direction. It may not be loud, but it is clear if you are willing to listen to it. Archangel Michael makes it clear that this is not a random opportunity. It is connected directly to the prayer you released. It is part of the answer that has already been set in motion. But it requires something from you in return. It requires your awareness, your presence, and your willingness to move without needing full certainty. Because certainty does not come before the step. It comes after. This is where many hesitate. They wait for everything to make perfect sense before they move. They wait for complete clarity, complete confidence, complete assurance. But that moment rarely comes in the way they expect. Instead, what comes is a quiet knowing, a sense that this is right, even if it is unfamiliar, a feeling that this is the direction, even if it is different from what you planned. That is the doorway. And tonight, you are standing in front of it. You do not need to force anything. You do not need to rush. But you do need to remain aware. Because this door may not stay open in the same way forever. Opportunities shift. Timing moves. And alignment requires response. This is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create focus. Because what is opening for you is not something small. It is not just another step. It is a transition point. A movement from where you have been into where you are meant to go next. And everything you have experienced up to this point has been preparing you for this exact moment. You are ready. Even if you do not feel fully prepared, you are ready in the ways that matter. Because readiness is not about knowing everything. It is about being aligned enough to take the next step when it appears. And that step is here, right now. Stay aware of what you feel after this moment. Pay attention to what shifts in your thoughts, your direction, your decisions. Because the door will reveal itself through those changes. Not all at once, but clearly enough for you to recognize it if you are paying attention. This is your moment to see it. This is your moment to step toward it. And this is your moment to trust that what is opening for you is not accidental. It is aligned. Type "I see the door" in the comments if you are ready to recognize it. Blessing code 7777 is now activated over your next step. There is one thing that matters more than anything else tonight. Not 10 steps. Not a complicated process. Not something overwhelming or difficult to follow. Just one thing. And if you miss this, you risk standing in the middle of everything that has been unfolding without fully receiving it. You must become still. Not just physically but internally. Because everything that hath been happening up to this point has been leading you toward this exact posture. Stillness is not inactivity. It is alignment. It is the moment where you stop chasing, stop questioning, stop overthinking, and allow yourself to fully receive what is already in motion. And for you, this is the hardest part, isn't it? You have been trying to figure everything out, trying to connect every detail, trying to understand how, when, and why things are happening the way they are. Your mind has been active, constantly searching for clarity. But clarity does not come from constant movement. It comes from stillness. Because when you become still, you begin to hear what has been there all along. There is a voice beneath the noise. A quiet knowing that does not compete for attention, but remains consistent when everything else fades. That is what you need to tune into tonight. Not the urgency of your thoughts, not the pressure of your expectations, but the calm, steady awareness that is guiding you without force. Archangel Michael reveals that many miss their moment not because nothing is happening, but because they are too distracted by their own internal noise to recognize it. They keep moving when they are meant to pause. They keep searching externally where the answer is already forming internally. And in doing so, they overlook what has already been given. This is why tonight is different. Because tonight, you are being called to pause long enough to receive. To sit with yourself, even if just for a few moments. To remove the distractions that have been surrounding you. To step away from the constant input of the world and allow your awareness to settle. Because once it settles, something begins to rise. Clarity. Not forced. Not complicated. Just clear. You may notice it as a simple thought that feels grounded. A realization that carries a sense of certainty. A direction that feels calm rather than rushed. That is how alignment speaks. It does not overwhelm you. It centers you. And this is what you must do tonight. Give yourself the space to hear it. Even if your environment is busy. Even if your day has been full. You can still choose a moment. A small window where you stop everything else and allow yourself to be fully present. Because it is in that space that the answer you have been waiting for becomes recognizable. You do not need to create anything. You do not need to force anything. You only need to allow. Because everything else has already been set in motion. Archangel Michael makes it clear that this moment of stillness is not separate from your answer. It is part of it. It is the bridge between what has been released and what you are able to receive. Without it, you remain aware that something is happening, but unclear about what it means for you. With it, everything begins to connect. This is not about doing more. It is about allowing more. And that requires trust. Trust that you do not need to control every outcome. Trust that you do not need to rush ahead of the process. Trust that what is meant for you is not fragile. It does not disappear if you slow down. In fact, it becomes clearer when you do. Tonight is your moment to shift from effort to alignment. From searching to receiving. From noise to clarity. And it begins with stillness. Do not underestimate how powerful this simple action is. Because in a world that constantly pulls your attention in every direction, choosing to be still is an act of alignment. It is a decision to prioritize awareness over distraction. It is how you position yourself to recognize what is already unfolding. This is the one thing you must do. And once you do, everything else will begin to make sense in ways you did not expect. Type "I am still" in the comments if you are choosing this moment. Blessing code 8888 is now activated within your spirit. As you enter this stillness and begin to receive what heaven has already released, understand this: every act of support you give becomes a seed planted into someone else's moment of awakening. This is not about giving to a platform. It is about fueling a river of truth that flows into lives searching for clarity just like you were. The word speaks. Those who sow in faith will reap in abundance, and this is your moment to step into that living promise. I feel it clearly. This is not random for you. This is a divine prompting to act with intention. When you give through Super Thanks, with a PayPal link waiting for you in the description and QR code, you are opening a channel for light to multiply beyond what you can see. Do not delay this moment of obedience. Step forward and release your seed, and watch how alignment begins to respond in your life. There is something you must hear clearly right now, and it is not meant to create fear, but awareness. This moment you are in, it is not permanent. It is a window, a precise, intentional opening where alignment, clarity, and response are all meeting at the same point in time. And like every window, it does not remain open in the same way forever. You have felt moments like this before. Moments where something stirred inside you. Moments where you sensed that something important was happening. But instead of leaning in, you got pulled away. Life resumed. Distractions returned. The urgency faded. And slowly, what once felt significant became something you forgot to act on. Not because it was not real, but because it was not recognized in time. This is what you are being warned about now. Not loss, not punishment, but delay. Because when a moment like this is ignored, what has already been set in motion does not disappear. It simply waits. It shifts. It moves to another point in time where you are ready to recognize it again. But that delay changes the timing of everything connected to it. And that is what you cannot afford right now. Archangel Michael reveals that this is not just another moment of awareness. It is a point of intersection. A place where your readiness and the answer that has been unfolding are finally meeting. And when those two things align, movement happens quickly. Things begin to shift without resistance. Direction becomes clear without force. And what once felt distant begins to feel immediate. But if you disconnect from this moment, that alignment loosens. Not because it was taken from you, but because your awareness moved away from it. This is why presence matters so much. Because what is happening right now is subtle. It does not demand your attention the way external events do. It requires you to stay grounded, to stay aware, to stay connected to what you feel in your spirit rather than what is happening around you. And if you allow yourself to slip back into distraction, into autopilot, into the noise that have been surrounding you, you risk missing the clarity that is trying to settle into place. This is not about doing something dramatic. It is about not ignoring what is already clear. There is a difference. You are not being asked to create anything tonight. You are being asked to recognize what has already been created, to remain present long enough to fully receive it. Because once you do, your next step becomes obvious. Not forced, not confusing, just clear. But if you rush past this moment, if you tell yourself you will come back to it later, if you allow the urgency to fade without responding to it, that clarity becomes harder to access. Not because it is gone, but because your attention is no longer aligned with it. That attention is what determines direction. Archangel Michael makes it clear that many people do not miss their opportunities because they are not ready. They miss them because they are not present. They are distracted at the moment when awareness is required. They are focused on everything except what is actually shifting for them. But you are not in that position right now. You are aware. You are present. And you are being given the chance to respond differently. This is where everything changes. Because once you recognize the importance of this moment, you begin to treat it differently. You do not rush through it. You do not dismiss it. You allow it to settle. You stay with it long enough for it to become clear. And in doing so, you move with alignment instead of hesitation. This is the only warning you need. Do not ignore what you feel right now. Do not downplay it. Do not tell yourself it is just another passing thought or moment. Because it is not. It is a point of alignment that hath been building for longer than you realize. And it is here now. Stay with it. Stay aware. Stay present. Because what you do with this moment determines how quickly everything else begins to unfold. Type "I will not miss this" in the comments if you are choosing to stay aligned. Blessing code 9999 is now activated over your awareness and your path. You have been asking for a sign, whether you said it out loud or not. Somewhere within you, there has been a quiet request, a silent question that kept returning no matter how much you tried to move past it. Is this real? Am I on the right path? Is anything actually changing? You may not have formed those exact words, but the feeling hath been there. A need for confirmation. A desire to know that what you are sensing is not just in your mind, but something real, something grounded, something true. In this moment right now, this is that confirmation. Not because of coincidence. Not because of timing alone. But because everything you have been experiencing has been pointing toward this realization. The thoughts that kept repeating. The patterns you started noticing. The subtle shifts in your awareness that you could not fully explain. They were not random. They were signals. And tonight, those signals are coming together in a way that allows you to finally recognize them for what they are. You have already received pieces of this confirmation before. You just did not recognize them at the time. Think back carefully. There were moments when something stood out to you. A repeated idea that kept returning no matter how much you dismissed it. A situation that aligned in an unexpected way. A feeling that something was different, even if everything around you looked the same. At the time, you may have questioned it. You may have brushed it off. But those moments were not isolated. They were connected. They were building toward this. Archangel Michael reveals that confirmation rarely comes as a single, obvious event. It comes in layers, in patterns. In repeated signals that gradually become too consistent to ignore. And once you begin to see the pattern, everything becomes clearer. Not all at once, but enough to understand that you are not imagining it. That is where you are now. You are no longer searching for proof. You are recognizing it. And that changes your position completely. Because when you are searching, you are uncertain. You are looking outside of yourself for something to validate what you feel inside. But when you begin to recognize confirmation, you shift into awareness. You begin to trust what you are seeing, what you are sensing, what you are experiencing. You no longer need something dramatic to prove it to you, because the consistency of the signs becomes the proof itself. This is what has been happening for you. And tonight, it becomes clear. Archangel Michael makes it known that the confirmation you are receiving is not just about reassurance. It is about direction. It is meant to move you forward, not keep you in a state of questioning. Because once you see that something is real, you are no longer meant to stand still and analyze it endlessly. You are meant to respond to it. This is where many hesitate. They receive confirmation, but they continue to question it. They wait for more signs, more clarity, more reassurance. But in doing so, they delay the very movement that the confirmation was meant to create. You are not in that position anymore. You have enough. Not every detail, not every step, but enough to move forward. Enough to trust what you feel. Enough to recognize that something has already shifted. Because the confirmation is not coming later. It is here, right now. In the way you are understanding this moment. In the way things are beginning to connect for you. In the way your awareness has changed even within these last few moments. That is the confirmation. And it is meant to settle something within you. To replace doubt with clarity. To replace hesitation with readiness. To replace questioning with quiet certainty. You may not be able to explain it to anyone else. You may not have the words to describe it fully. But you do not need to. Because this is not something that needs external validation. It is something you recognize internally. And once you recognize it, everything begins to align differently. Decisions become clearer. Direction becomes easier to follow. And the next step no longer feels forced. This is what you have been waiting for. Not a loud sign. Not an overwhelming moment. But a clear understanding that what you have been sensing is real. And now that you have it, you are no longer standing in uncertainty. You are standing in awareness. Type "I receive confirmation" in the comments if you recognize this moment. Blessing code 1010 is now activated over your clarity and direction. Here is something you must shift in your understanding right now, because everything begins to change the moment you see this truth clearly. What you have been praying for is not waiting to be approved. It has already been assigned to your name. The answer is not stuck somewhere in the distance, undecided or delayed. It has already been released. It already carries your name, your timing, your alignment. And the only reason it has felt distant is because you were still being positioned to receive it fully. You have been thinking of your blessing as something that is coming. But heaven sees it as something that is already in motion. This is the difference that transforms everything. Because when you believe something is still coming, you remain in a state of waiting. You keep looking ahead, searching for signs that it is getting closer. You measure time. You question progress. You wonder if something has gone wrong. But when you understand that something has already been assigned to you, your perspective shifts. You stop chasing it. You stop questioning its existence. And instead, you begin to align with it. Archangel Michael reveals that your name has already been spoken in places you have not yet reached. Doors have already been marked for you. Outcomes have already been adjusted to include you. There are paths forming right now that are designed specifically to connect you to what hath been prepared. And you are not trying to create those paths. You are stepping into them. This is why things have felt different recently. Because when something is assigned to you, your environment begins to shift to match it. You may have noticed subtle changes. A growing distance from things that once felt familiar. A pull toward something you cannot fully explain. A sense that you are no longer where you used to be, even if your surroundings have not changed yet. That is not confusion. That is transition. You are moving into alignment with what has already been assigned. And that movement does not always feel comfortable, because it requires you to let go of what no longer matches where you are going. It requires you to release the version of yourself that was still waiting, still doubting, still unsure. It requires you to step into a mindset that recognizes that you are not hoping for something anymore, you are preparing to receive it. This is where your awareness becomes power. Because once you understand that your blessing is already assigned, you begin to move differently. You stop settling for what does not align. You stop questioning your direction. You stop allowing doubt to control your decisions. Because you know that what is meant for you is not uncertain. It is already decided. And that certainty changes how you respond to everything. You become more focused, more intentional, more aware of what you allow into your space. Because you understand that alignment matters. You understand that what you carry now must match what you are stepping into. And you begin to protect that alignment in ways you did not before. Archangel Michael makes it clear that this is not about proving yourself worthy. You already are. This is not about earning something through effort. It has already been given. This is about recognizing what is yours and positioning yourself to receive it without resistance. Because resistance does not come from the outside. It comes from doubt. It comes from hesitation. It comes from holding on to old patterns that no longer match what is being prepared for you. And tonight, that resistance is being released. You are no longer in a position of waiting. You are in a position of receiving. And everything you do from this point forward should reflect that. You do not need to rush. You do not need to force anything. You only need to remain aligned. Because what is assigned to you cannot miss you. It is already moving toward you. It is already connected to you. It is already part of your path. And the more you recognize that, the more clearly you will see it unfold. This is your shift. From waiting to knowing. From questioning to trusting. From hoping to receiving. And once that shift settles within you, everything else begins to align naturally. Type IT is already mine in the comments if you receive this truth. Blessing code 1111 is now activated over your blessing and your path. This is the moment everything has been leading to. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not some distant point in time where everything suddenly becomes clearer. This moment, right now, is where your response begins to shape what happens next. Because everything you have heard, everything you have felt, everything that has been revealed to you, it is not just meant to comfort you. It is meant to move you. You are no longer in a place of uncertainty. You are no longer searching without direction. You are standing at a point of awareness, and what you choose from here matters more than anything that came before. Because alignment is not automatic, it is chosen. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity in this moment and reveals something that many overlook. The answer may already be in motion. The door may already be open. The blessing may already be assigned. But if you do not step into alignment with it, you remain where you are, aware of what could be without fully experiencing it. This is why your response matters. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that requires you to change everything overnight, but in the way you choose to move from this moment forward, in the way you hold your awareness, in the way you trust what you now know instead of returning to what you used to doubt. Because there is a pull happening right now, a quiet but undeniable pull toward something higher, something clearer, something more aligned than where you have been. And you feel it. Even if you cannot fully explain it, you feel the difference between where you were and where you are now. That difference is your signal. It is your confirmation that something has already shifted. But here is where the final decision takes place. You can either follow that pull or you can ignore it. You can either move with what you feel or return to what is familiar. You can either trust this moment or allow doubt to slowly take its place again. And the truth is, no one else can make that choice for you. Because alignment is personal. It is not about what others see. It is not about external validation. It is about what you choose internally when you know something is real. Archangel Michael reveals that many people reach this point, feel the shift, recognize the moment, and then slowly drift away from it. Not because they do not believe it, but because they do not act on it. They return to routine. They return to distraction. They return to the same patterns that once kept them waiting. And nothing changes. Not because the answer was not there, but because it was not received fully. But you are not meant to repeat that pattern. You are meant to respond differently. This is your moment to hold on to what you feel right now, to stay aligned with it, to allow it to guide your next step, even if that step feels small. Because alignment does not require perfection. It requires consistency. It requires you to remain connected to this awareness, not just for a moment, but moving forward. To carry it with you into your decisions, your actions, your direction. To let it shape how you move instead of leaving it behind as something temporary. This is how everything begins to unfold. Not all at once, but step by step, in alignment. You do not need to see the entire path. You only need to take the next step with clarity. And that clarity is already here, right now. So do not let this moment fade. Do not treat this as something you will come back to later. Because what you feel right now is real. And it is guiding you forward. Step into it. Stay aligned with it. And allow everything that has already been set in motion to meet you where you are. This is your response. This is your moment. And this is where everything begins to unfold. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if you are choosing this path. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your life and your next chapter. As you step into this alignment and feel the shift taking root within you, understand this truth: every seed you release becomes a light that reaches someone else still waiting for their answer. This is not about supporting a channel. This is about expanding a divine mission that carries truth into hearts that are searching just like yours once was. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, and it will return to you." And this is that living moment where your action becomes part of something eternal. I feel this strongly for you. This is your invitation to move, to respond, to participate in what heaven is doing through this message. When you give through super thanks with a PayPal link placed in the description and QR code, you are opening a flow that multiplies beyond what your eyes can see. Do not hold back in this moment of obedience. Release your seed now and step into the overflow that follows those who act in faith.